Well, let's stroll into some Plunket Shield here. Wild card. Shit the bed. We might have to breeze through it. We've done a big old sporting excellence segment there to get us started. That was nice. What did you... I wrote 3 different things about the first round of Plunket Shield cricket, so all my thoughts have been kind of emptied. You always have a slightly different perspective because you're looking at like teams and what team is good and in the context of winning the Plunket Shield, and I try to offer the insights as to like who the players are, what the players are doing, just to build out that cricket landscape. So how did you view that first round of Plunket Shield? What were your highlights? Do you have any questions or just ideas you want to discuss from that first round of Plunket Shield cricket?
Well, there's probably a few discussion points that popped up there. I mean, the overarching idea of that first, like, or theme, should I say, of the first round of the Plunket Shield was just like, it was very first round of the New Zealand domestic summer, eh? Like, the pitches were extremely green. Weather was a big factor in, certainly a decisive factor in one game, although we got results in all of them, but affected all the games to some degree. And as a result, lots of wickets for seam bowlers, not a lot of runs, and a lot of the runs that were scored were kind of scored as sort of a, Michael Rippon's 100, very sort of like, where are we, 100 off 127 balls, a couple sixes involved, 14 fours, very much a like scrapping away kind of like backs against the wall kind of innings. So I don't know the overall, just because of all that, I don't know we really learnt a whole lot about any of the teams or like from a competition standpoint. Railway Aces beat the Volts by an innings and 129 runs. Otago getting bowled out for 54 in the second innings was a long way from ideal. I think they've got a couple they need to kind of dominate most weeks, or else they're not going to do a whole lot. Canterbury beat Wellington as well, so that's one. I'm trying to load the bloody scorecard. Like, it's there's a lot, like, one of the things when I write my NFL picks, that I have to try keep aware of every year is that when that first round comes along, and everyone's been waiting 9 or 6, 7 months or however long it is. There's a huge off season in the longer this year because there wasn't even like preseason and stuff to pay any attention to and learn from there. So the week 1 judgments are always extremely dangerous. Like, you don't want to commit yourself. You obviously like got to be aware of what you've seen. If you're writing about it, you got to discuss whatever talking points come up, but you also don't want to make bold judgments. And I think this just felt like it could be one of those, like, when the pitches dry up in a couple, hopefully a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, who knows? Like, I think there's a possibility that we're looking at a bit of a wonk week for this first round. So I don't want to make judgments on that side of things, but there's certainly a lot of players to discuss. The opening batting thing is fascinating right now. Like, there's a number of there's obviously a couple Black Caps, not contingents, what's the word? Incumbents. And when you've seen Tom Blando, we talked about last week, opening the batting for Wellington, you also had some runs there for Jeet Raval looking pretty good. This is a different Jeet Raval as well, as got to point out. Like, Jeet Raval isn't trying to be Mark Richardson 2.0 anymore. He's definitely looking to find a few more runs earlier on in his innings and be a bit more aggressive, and it's been pretty fun to watch, actually, from him. Henry Cooper got a 50 as well. You had big 50s, both of them falling in the 90s, for the 2 CD openers, Greg Haye and George Worker. People still seem to think Devon Conway's an option, even though he's not opening for Wellington, but I mean, he could probably bat wherever. He's bloody good. The only Wellingtonian who scored any like consistent runs in that match as well, in both innings. So that's fascinating. Like, there's plenty to talk about there. The guy I would say, though, that I would most want to chuck out first off, because he was the most impressive player in the first round of the Plunket Shield, and that would be a Mr. Carl Jemison, who, where are we? 5 for 39 off 12.5 overs in the first innings, and 3 for 6 off 8 overs in the second innings. So, and it's not just the numbers either. Like, you watch his highlights and the way he's swinging the ball, and he was outstanding in that first round day. And from a position where he was a little bit of a bolter and then a rapid breakthrough player late in the last season for the Black Caps, and probably, I won't say, it's a bit like those kind of week one overreactions, eh? Like, I'm not saying that he was overrated off of the very, very long winter without Black Caps cricket since, but I will say, like, he hadn't played a lot of cricket to get to the point where people were talking about him like he's an automatic selection in the test team or anything like that. But, I mean, Jesus, if he bowls like that, he is. Like, that's unstoppable. And he got to this, like, he hasn't always been this kind of player as well. I think he's made such a huge leap over the last probably 2.5 years. It's really impressive, and if I was picking a player of the week for the first round, it would be Kyle Jemison, and so that's maybe, I don't know if you got anything to add on him, but maybe that's a decent place to start.
Oh, Gemma, he went from underrated to overrated to back to underrated. Is that what you're saying? The weird transition from hottest thing to being...
He might be properly rated now, I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's exactly where he was last summer, so he's exactly where he needs to be, you could say. The old Jemison, yes. The best thing about, though, as you said, was, he's getting wickets, moving the ball into a right-hander, then into a left-hander, which is the opposite direction. Then he's getting a wicket through his bounce and his height, and that was the thing that stood out to me, was just the skill that he's had on offer. But I don't necessarily think he's hit like a lot of growth as far as like who he is as a bowler, because I remember the first thing that caught my eye about Jemison, like, yeah, it's obvious to say he's really tall, but the first like highlights of him, I saw him bowling for Canterbury, he was moving the ball every way. And that was the first thing was seeing, like, oh, there's a real tall guy here bowling, but he's also able to move the ball. And that seems real crucial. And then it's just a natural cycle. Like, if you play international cricket and you succeed at international cricket as Jemison did, mate, that's just straight confidence into your veins. You're being injected with confidence straight into your veins, and he would have been rather excited, I think, to get out and play Plunket Shield cricket and perform. The biggest story probably, though, is Tom Blando opening the batting for Wellington. And we've talked a lot about Blando over the course of his Black Caps career, especially with the move to open. I'm curious, Wildcard, like, what happens if, like, do you see any possibility where the Black Caps opener job could change based on what happens in the Plunket Shield? Because if Tom Blundell is opening for Wellington Firebirds and he doesn't score many runs with that opportunity, like, it's going to be very strange, because I don't want to say you can't select him to open the batting for the Black Caps when you have selected Tom Blundell to open the innings for the Black Caps based on what Tom Blundell does as a middle order batsman for the Firebirds, and more importantly, what he's done around the Black Caps group. But then if he doesn't score runs in the opening position for the Wellington Firebirds when he eventually gets that opportunity, it makes things very murky. And if Tom Blundell struggles and Jeet Raval scores a lot of runs, surely that's a recipe for Jet Raval to come back in as Black Caps opener. Like, it's such a strange scenario, wildcard, and somehow we get a lot of strange scenarios with the Black Caps, and it seems like selecting Tom Blundell. Best case scenario, Tom Blundell scores a lot of runs for Wellington, and this is like a null and void discussion point. But the Black Caps put him in that position, and I think they've put themselves in an awkward position if, it doesn't play out with Tom Blundell scoring a lot of runs. Like, if he struggles, he's struggling in the same role for the first time as his Black Caps role, which is probably going to be more telling and perhaps more detrimental. And especially if that comes with Jet Raval scoring runs. Like, it's a weird one.
It's an extremely weird one because as to whether I see, the Plunket Shield being a defining factor in selection, not a defining factor, but, I mean, if he's not scoring runs and others are, then it does become a question, because all he has to do, because right now he is the incumbent, all he has to do is score some Plunket Shield runs. It's a lot easier said than done, but if he does, say, over the next couple, I think the Black Caps play all 4 rounds, for the first half of the season before there's any kind of international cricket. So let's say he scores 100 and a couple 50s over the next potentially 6 innings that he's going to get. Well, then he's the Black Caps opener. There's no question at that point. It'll be him and Tom Latham walking out there day 1 of the first test against the West Indies after Kane Williamson wins the toss and decides to bat. That'll be what'll be happening. And if it's not, it's because my guess about the toss will have been wrong, more than Blundell. If he doesn't score runs, though, and he didn't look particularly great against Canterbury, but I will chuck out, not easy when it's, in these rain-affected games and a very, very grassy wicket to be facing, Matt Henry and such. So, there'll be easier opportunities for him to score some runs as, hopefully, pitches have a little less bloody green to them, because that was almost hard to distinguish them sometimes in the old pooch can. If he does well, then he's in a good place. But if he doesn't, then it gets weird, because it's not really the kind of... I wouldn't say it's consistent with recent Black Cap selections if they drop him purely based on Plunket Shield. But at the same time, I think there were... how many did I list? 5 openers who scored 50s this it might have been 4. Latham did, the 2 CDs, the 2 NDs, so at least 5. Don't think anyone scored any runs in the other game. So there you go. There's automatically 5 dudes, not to mention Rachim Ravindru's opening with him, who's a very highly rated dude. Devon Conway coming in after him, who could potentially be considered. It's not like there's no competition, which is why this is so weird, because I don't really know what to think about it. I think the easiest thing would just be to cheer for Tom Blundell to score a bunch of runs over the next 3 rounds, because then we don't have to worry about how confusing it's going to be.
Oh, but I kind of want to see Jet get another crack,
I do too, if he's going to bat like this, because he's definitely, you remember when he first got dropped and he sort of came out and said something weird in the media about how he wants to play at the next World Cup, and then people sort of laughed because this is the dude who bats really slowly for the test team and just got dropped from the opening spot. But he actually came out and scored some Ford Trophy runs, and scored them at a clip too. He was hitting, he was finding boundaries, and he was turning strike over and just being more aggressive. He's without a doubt, Jet Raval being dropped from the test team has sparked his career. Whether he gets another chance to play for the Black Caps or not, he's definitely got a bit of a new lease on life. He's more aggressive. He's more determined. He is actually quite a fun player to watch at the moment. He's changed teams as well, hasn't he? He's gone from Auckland to Northern Districts, which is another big change. What's that saying? Change your environment, change your life, or change something. There's something like that. Taking control of your situation and all that. Again, I don't know if it's going to lead to more Black Caps cricket or not, but he's one of the most enjoyable players to follow at the moment.
All right, here's a question. So if we're first stanza, 4 games, if Rachin Ravindra, Tom Blundell, Jet Raval, and Henry Cooper open for all those 4 games, who do you think will score more runs combined? Jet Raval and Henry Cooper, or Rachin Ravindra and Tom Blundell? Because right now, Raval and Henry Cooper hit 50s, big up to them, so they've got the lead at the moment. Whereas old Blundell, he scored 19 runs in that first game, and I can't find Ravindra. He scored 28 runs in that first game. So something to keep an eye on. Would you hazard a guess right now as to who's going to finish with the most combined runs out of those 2 opening partnerships?
Well, yeah, I'm going to pick the ones that are already in the lead and say Cooper and Raval are looking pretty sharp in first game. So would be surprised. Be very surprised if they weren't the leading pair, but I'd also suggest that Haye and Worker will probably beat them both.
And they'll be even stranger. The two, that if that happens, that will present...
Because neither of them seems to be in any contention for Black Caps, eh?
Not at all. And Greg Haye, he has scored a 50 in each of his last 6 innings of Plunket Shield cricket. He is averaging 43.55.
Which is amazing.
Which is very handy. He averages over 40 in first class and list A cricket, and he's never played for New Zealand. So big up to him. Well, we'll have to stretch it out then. So George Worker, Greg Haye, that's one opening combination. Jet Raval, Henry Cooper, that's another opening combination. Then we have Tom Blundell and Rachin Ravindra. That is something that we will keep tabs on over the course of the season. A couple more notes here, Wildcard. The 2 leading spinners are Brad Shamulian, Underground King status. Brad Shamulian, I've got him as the Underground King, and Rachin Ravindra. So that is a continuation of last year where the best spinners were predominantly batsmen who bowl, part-timers. Brad Shamulian was playing as a frontline spinner because Ajaz Patel didn't play for the Stags, so he's not really in that part-timer role, but he's traditionally a batsman who bowls a bit. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Where are the specialist spinners at? And also, Wildcard, another little interesting matchup here. Daryl Mitchell versus Sean Solia. So Sean Solia took 5 wickets in the space of 8.4 overs, which was a bit crazy. Daryl Mitchell took 6 wickets in 26 overs of the Canterbury-Wellington game. Obviously, Daryl Mitchell, he's a black cap. He's better than Sean Solia just based off like standard cricket logic. But Sean Solia opened the batting for Auckland, and he dismantled Otago with the ball in that final innings. So, same kind of theory here, Wildcard. What do you like? Do you think like they're both all-rounders? Daryl Mitchell will bat in the middle order for Canterbury. He'll operate as a 4th or 5th seamer, and he bowled 26 overs in that first up game, so he'll get plenty of overs. Sean Solia is an opening batsman who is going to be called on to bowl as well. Do you think Daryl Mitchell is going to, do you think this is going to play out like this matchup, this little fantasy matchup that I've created? Do you think this is going to play out as per one would, like the cricket landscape suggests, where Daryl Mitchell is going to wipe the floor with Sean Solia? Or do you think there is room for Sean Solia to be more impactful as an all-rounder for the Aces than Daryl Mitchell?
It's an interesting one. I hadn't thought of the two of them head-to-head before. I don't know. Solia's really been given this kind of funky little role, eh? Like, he had started last year, and he's always been a little bit of a bowler, but he started last year, I think, and taken a few more wickets, and then suddenly, I mean, he got what were his figures in that thing? Like 5 for 6 or something crazy. 5 for 8 from 5.4 overs. He did bowl right at the end, so he got like 3 of those wickets were the last 3 of the last 4 guys in the. Although that includes Michael Rippon, who scored 100 in the first innings. So, and he did get top scorer Anu Kitchen out at LBW. So, he got a lot of late wickets at the point where the game was, Auckland were going to win it one way or another. It was just a matter of how long Otago hung on. And when they get bowled out for 54, they obviously didn't hold on very long. But also, like, you can't dismiss that as just a bit of convenience when also he has been used more and more effectively as a little sort of like, I don't know, like a little bit of a Nathan Astley kind of medium pacer, right? Like a proper old medium pacer like you don't see too much anymore these days. And that's a cool little role when you couple that with this week. Has he opened the batting before? Is this a completely new thing? Or was he just like, I don't know, because Guptill was batting at 5 as well, eh? Like I was a little bit confused when I saw the Auckland lineup, although Guptill also batted excellently at 5 and scored 60 odd, and then Ben Horn went ballistic, didn't he? 162. So it was, I don't know, is that normal or expected or whatever? Because it sort of caught me out of the blues. Sean Solia as an opener suddenly, he scored 17 off 123 deliveries, so he's definitely trying to be the new Jeet Raval now that Jeet Raval is a different Jeet Raval. A lot of that was batting to see out the end of the day in fading light, so he, it's a little bit distracting from the league, and then he got out cheap the next morning, I think. So, but I didn't even see him as I don't know. I was just surprised when he was opening the batting, but he's in a nice little role. I don't know how that'll compare with Daryl Mitchell. I still expect Daryl Mitchell, just the player he is, will probably take more wickets for sure, probably score more runs, but yeah, confused about Sean Solia as an opener, but only because I didn't see it coming. Is that something that's been sort of touted in the past, or what? Has he done that role before?
It was surprising to see. However, Sean Solia, I think he has batted either opening or number 3 in Ford Trophy before. So there is some sort of history of him batting up the order. You're a bit rough there. He's definitely no Nathan Astor, I'll say that. He's a certified...
Nathan Astor was a fantastic bowler, now you're being rough.
No. He's a fantastic bowler, but if we're talking about what they did as bowlers, Sean Solia is a bit more... he's a couple levels... Not levels, but his style of bowling is more Tim Southey, Doug Bracewell than, whereas Nathan Astor's style of bowling is more Chris Harris, Jesse Ryder. Like Sean Solia is skewing, he's skewing more to a...
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
Because he did kind of just get picked as a seamer last season. That's the strange thing. He was batting down the order, and he was being used as a straight-up seam bowler. That made the whole opening the batting thing a bit weird. Is because he was batting down the order, focus on bowling last season. This season, it seems to be focus on bowling and open the batting, which is exciting for him. I think to sum up the Daryl Mitchell, Sean Solia thing, like, Daryl Mitchell has the hierarchy in the cricket landscape, but I would say that there is that space between... so the Daryl Mitchell is levels above Sean Solia in the cricket landscape, and that differentiation is... I don't know how to word it, but Sean Solia has a lot of scope to impact games for Auckland if he is opening the batting and he's bowling overs, right? So, they're completely different levels of Kiwi cricket, But I think Sean Solia can make up for that with the greater opportunities he's going to get for Auckland. If you catch my drift there?
I do catch your drift there. I also think Daryl Mitchell is going to have a very strong season, though. So, I mean, it's like just looking through some of these scoreboards, there's a lot of sort of batsmen who can bowl a little, in particular guys who can like roll the arm over with a little bit of part-time spin, because we've seen how successful that's been last season in particular. And there's a lot of like bowlers who are quite good at swinging the bat when they come in at 7 or 8 or 9. There's not as many like traditional all-rounders. Like the Black Caps don't really have one. Maybe Colin de Gronholm is the closest. But certainly like no one in the Plunket Shield is on a level with Ben Stokes, but like that model of player who could make the team as a batsman, could make the team as a bowler. Stokes is a better batsman than bowler, but he's still a very good bowler. I don't expect anyone bowling 140 Ks and scoring hundreds at 5 in the Plunket Shield, but it'd be nice to see a little bit of an all-rounder resurgence, you know what I mean? Like a proper all-rounder resurgence, of something that we used to have too many of them to be able to fit in a Black Caps team, and now it's just a little bit more of a drought. I don't know. It feels like maybe we're like this is how these things happen, eh? They happen in trends. You're up and then you're down. There's none, so they come through. Like batsmen dominate the game for a while, bowlers dominate the game for a while. Maybe we're due a little all-rounder resurgence.
Well, it's happening because Kyle Jemison leads all wicket takers, and he scored 2 40s in Test cricket. So he scored runs in Test cricket as the current best bowler in the Plunket Shield. Daryl Mitchell is second for wickets in the Plunket Shield this season after 1 game. He scored a 50 on Test debut. Sean Solia is third, and he's opening the batting for Auckland. So the 3 leading bowlers, 2 of them have scored runs for the Black Caps Test team, and 1 of them's opening the batting. It's 2020 wildcard, and shit's weird. Shit is weird.